Okay, today during math, we're going to be comparing 2D and 3D shapes. When we're comparing shapes, we're finding similarities or something that is the same about the shapes. Or we're finding differences, something that is different about the shapes. Some examples of 2D shapes are squares and circles. Some examples of 3D shapes are cubes and spheres. First, we're going to watch a video.
How do 3D shapes contain 2D shapes?
Let's find out.
What shape is Jackson holding?
All right, let's look at the shape that Jackson is holding. It's in his hand, and it's blue. It's right here. How do we know if it's a 2D shape or a 3D shape? 2D shapes are flat, and 3D shapes are solid. Looks like the shape that Jackson is holding is flat, so it has to be a 2D shape. But which 2D shape is it? How can we find out? We can count the sides. We can count the corners. There are 4 sides and 4 corners on the shape Jackson is holding. But how do we know if it's a square or a rectangle? A square, all the sides are the same length. And in a rectangle, there are 2 long sides and 2 short sides. It looks like Jackson's shape, all the sides are the same length. So he has to be holding a square. Let's check.
He is holding a square. What solid figure has flat surfaces that are squares?
Okay, so now they're asking us what solid figure has flat surfaces that look like squares. So let's look at the picture of the classroom. In this picture, there is a solid shape. Do you see it? Here it is. It's the cube. When we look at the surfaces of the cube, or the sides, they're called flat surfaces. What shape are the flat surfaces of a cube? It looks like they are squares. So you can actually see 2D shapes in a 3D shape.
Cubes are solid figures that have flat surfaces that are squares. Each side of the cube is the same. Let's find objects that have a square, flat surface in this classroom. What objects do you see in the classroom?
Okay, let's look what objects we see in the classroom. I see a calendar, a clock, and a door.
You see a calendar, a clock, and a door. What flat surfaces do these objects have? The clock has a flat surface that is a circle. The door has a flat surface that is a rectangle. The calendar has a flat surface that is a square. Where do you see a square, flat surface in this classroom?
Okay, so they're asking us to find a square flat surface in the classroom. So let's try it.
Select each object to show its shape.
Okay, so we're going to select each object and we're going to try to find the object that has a square flat surface. So let's look at the clock. Is the clock a square flat surface? It's definitely flat, but it's not a square. It's a circle. Let's check.
The clock has a flat surface that is a circle.
Okay, we were right. Now let's look at the calendar. Is the calendar a square flat surface? It does have 4 sides. It has 4 corners. Also, it looks like all the sides are the same length. So I think the calendar is a square flat surface. Let's check.
The calendar has a flat surface that is a square.
Great. And the last object is the door. Now, the door is tricky because it does have 4 sides and 4 corners. But is the door a square flat surface? No, it's not, because there are 2 long sides and 2 short sides. The door is a rectangle. flat surface. But let's look at the window. The window on the door looks like a square flat surface. Let's check.
The door has a flat surface that is a rectangle. The window has a flat surface that is a square.
Great job! We found another square flat surface. We saw that the window is a square flat surface. Great job.
The calendar is a square flat surface. The window in the door is also a square flat surface. You can see that the calendar is tilted. Is it still a square flat surface?
Okay, let's look at the calendar. He said the calendar was tilted, meaning it's not hanging straight on the wall. If you tilt an object, will the shape change? Is it still a square if it's tilted? I think it is. It still has 4 sides, it still has 4 corners, and all the sides are still the same length. So it is still a square flat surface if it's tilted.
Yes. Tilting an object does not change its shape. The calendar is still shaped like a square. Now you know how 3D shapes contain 2D shapes.
Great job. So today when you're doing your math classwork, if you have any questions or comments or need any assistance, feel free to reach out to your teacher.